Chardonnay.
My name is Brett Chardonnay. What first brought me here to Emmanuel Lutheran Church was I had just graduated from college, and I came up here. I didn't know a soul. So I was raised in the Lutheran Church all my life. So it was obviously it was what I was familiar with, and I just looked up the ELCA churches in the area. So I came here, and I was just very impressed with the people in the church and the beauty of the church.
What brought me to Emmanuel was that I was looking for a church family. And I had been living in Ann Arbor for a number of years. I belonged to a large Lutheran church in Ann Arbor because my uncle had suggested, because he had gone there, that I should try there. And I went there actually for a few years, and I was lost, meaning that there was the choirs and things to do, but for me, as a young person in my 20s, there weren't a lot of people my age there. And so I was sitting alone in church, and there wasn't a lot going on, and so I decided that's not what I wanted to do. And so I left, and I decided the church was beautiful, by the way. It had everything that you could ever want maybe in a church, except for me personally. I was missing my experience in the church. And I vowed that when I went to another church, I would instead look at more my experience, my personal experience in that church, and not allow myself to get lost. And so I went to a couple churches, and I went to Emmanuel. And I came to the 8:30 service. And Linda Wilbur was one of the first people that I met, and as she has always been, was so incredibly warm and welcoming, as were the other people in the church. And it reminded me of my home church. And I looked, and I decided that before I join another church, I don't want to sit alone anymore. And so I looked in the bulletin after I'd gone for a few times, and there was a young adults offering, and who was leading it but Brett Chardonnay. And so I decided, well, the young adults were 20 to 30 something, and let's see what that has to offer. So I called him on the phone. And so the first way Brett and I met was speaking to each other. And so that went on for about half an hour, 40 minutes, and I thought, boy, now I want to see, what this group is all like, and I was kind of like, what does he look like? And so I went to their first event, and Brett and I actually met on the steps of the church.
Yeah, this is true.
It is true.
Yeah.
And so not just because of Brett, but because of the entire experience, because of the church family, because of the people, that is what brought me to Emmanuel.
For me, it's the biggest aspect is the fellowship and the people, and obviously coming for a place to worship. Coming to a church like this, you just feel God's presence when you sit in the sanctuary.
Having a church presence in my life grounds me. It provides strength, and I think everyone can say that I have had wonderful times in my life. I've been so incredibly blessed in my life, but there have been moments of sorrow. There's been a lot of death in my family. I was the last child born in my family, and so I have watched the passing of my parents. They lived to be 89 and 76, but my sister-in-law, and other challenges in my life, and I haven't felt alone, because I know when I go to church, it's just a time of solace for me. It's God talking to me, strengthening me. I need that. Before, I used to just go to church because it was expected in my family. I was born into the church. I hunger for the church now. I want to be there, and it gives me energy to go on when sometimes it's really tough. My faith is supported here in part by the comfort that I feel here. I think if someone wishes to worship, I think it first starts with how comfortable you are in the place that you're at. And for some people, it might just be in their home. And my faith isn't just here at Emmanuel. I started out as part of the ALC church. My uncle played the organ, and 12 people in my family all went to that church, and my grandmother. And so my comfort of part of the rituals of being Lutheran are satisfied in this church. But I don't just worship in this church. I worship probably one of the most common times that my faith is exercised is alone in my car. When I go to work, I work at the University of Michigan, and I've been an anesthetist for almost 25, 26 years. Not just my work, but also struggles within my family. I sometimes find the greatest solace and worship of being alone, doing a devotional in my car, and talking to God. But I also find it here at Emmanuel. This is where I am most comfortable.
So my faith with regards to this church is somewhat what Kathy said. The foundation here in the church is what kind of grounds me in my faith. But like Kathy, I do a lot of my faith comes in times that I'm alone. For example, every time I wake up, I thank God for being, still alive. I ask strength to be the best person that I can be. For a husband's perspective and a parent perspective. And then I pray for my kids to, just make sure that they're safe.
I participated in the choir, and Brett can talk about what he did. I helped with the nursery and helped in helping with the cry room to redo it, that sort of thing. I was mainly more with the choir. Then we left for a while, and that was kind of difficult. It was a very difficult decision, but our children were young. We went to a church for a while that was Lutheran, that had a greater offering for activities for kids. I still, however, never had the church family ever that I had here at Emmanuel. That's what brought me back. I was still hungering for that warmth and inclusion, and I felt I was home. I walked back in, when we had been gone for quite a few years, and walked back in. I told Brett, I feel like I'm home. The future for Emmanuel has to be new growth. I cherish the people that I have had the pleasure to know and that they've shared their lives with me here. But the church has to continue to grow. And I love the traditions of this church. But there has to at least be the opportunity to entertain other ways to attract people. And we've been here now for, if you count from the beginning, 25 years, from a simple thing in the bulletin that I saw that appealed to me. When it comes down to that, when people are coming in, sometimes a lot of it is, what can you do for me? It is about worship, but it also is, I talked about that personal piece that brought me in here. What will this do for me? Will I get lost in this church or not? That was the young adults group. And from that grew my family, Brett, 25 years in this church, a simple thing like that. So I think that you can't lose focus of that.
Yeah.
I'm a traditional Lutheran, and we're steadfast in our worship alone, quiet.
Yeah.
And to consider this evangelical, speaking out and talking to people about my faith, it might be a little uncomfortable. I mean, for traditional German, which I am, my maiden name was Pagels, and for those that remember. And so we didn't talk a whole lot about our faith. We just went to church and did the ritualistic.
Right.
But like I said to David, I also have been not only hungering now to go to church, not just to church, I wish to learn more. I'm somebody that has had, the church's presence in my life since the day I was born, but I've never read the Bible completely. So now I'm in BSF. And we're going chapter by chapter, verse by verse to understand what is meant. It's the most important book there is, and yet I haven't read it and been all the way through school. That's crazy. and so I'm enjoying this, and like I said, that one of the questions in BSF was, how can you witness or deepen witness to God, basically. And so if He calls upon you, and that's one of my questions in BSF, and I thought, I initially turned it down. I thought, what are you doing? He's tapping you on the shoulder right now and giving you an opportunity to speak out about your faith. I'm going to do it. And so Brett kind of looked at me like, okay, surprised.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah. Well, for somebody who is coming to Emmanuel for the first time, obviously welcome them and just relate to them. The people here are the most important element, that sense of family, that sense of belonging, the sense of caring amongst all the congregation.
I would say take your time and feel the experience of Emmanuel. I didn't just join after one time. I kept coming. And because of the warmth of the people that were here, again, it was the people, I never make snap decisions. I'm not that kind of person. Take their time and look at what Emmanuel has to offer. But also ask yourself, if you like it here, what can I do to make it better?